Okay, so look at Dark Souls Remastered at 21:9. The original game needed remastering very badly. It was a huge mess on PC, and even with mods installed, it simply wasn't that great a time to play, thanks to awful technical issues. So the excitement behind a re-release wasn't unfounded, and now we've got it. Is it worth it? Well, yes. For 50% of people, it is. But before I go on to that, let's cover the 21:9 support. This is possibly the biggest surprise of the entire remaster. There is native 21:9 support. There has never been native support in this series, so if you're shocked to hear this, then join the club. I really had no hope for this. That said, by 21:9 support, I don't mean it's perfect. The gameplay does show off more on the sides of the screen at all moments, and there are some in-game cutscenes that use the entire screen space, but the menus are 16:9 with black bars, there are 16:9 cutscenes with black bars, and loading screens are 16:9. But on the whole, it actually plays very nicely at 21:9. It natively does what we had to repeatedly mod into the other games in the series to do, so yes, massive thanks for at least this. Performance-wise, things aren't perfect, so whilst I could stay at 60 FPS at all moments and higher settings on a GTX 1080 Ti at 3440x1440, something we would expect no less from, there are a lot of moments where some visible screen tearing occurs. Nothing massive, but just like a single line running across the screen at times. It's a frustration, but it wasn't enough for me to want to stop playing. Now, unfortunately, there are pretty much no graphics options, which is not good, but thankfully due to the game's lacking graphical fidelity anyway, even with the few small upgrades they made, it should run okay on your setup. The main annoyance though is the insistence on 60 FPS support only once again. It absolutely blows my mind that this is still a thing. Why they didn't at least give like 120 FPS support, I don't know, even if you're not going to unlock the frame rate. It's got to be down to the engine's physics build quality, but 60 simply isn't enough in 2018. And for those tiny minority of people who dispute the quality of a higher frame rate, another benefit is that any dropped frames won't be noticed at higher frame rates. Like 100 to 99 is not as noticeable as 60 to 59, especially in this game where it's extremely noticeable even on a G-Sync monitor. So general PC support wise, there is full controller and mouse and keyboard support, and generally you can tweak a good number of settings, but there's nothing outstanding here. Again, the devs have not looked to do anything exceptional with the PC support. At least you can rebind inputs, and there is surround sound support. Okay, so what's it like to play? Well, from my brief time with the original, I can say uncategorically this is miles better to play. It's smoother, easier to get running, the 60 FPS is obviously miles better than the original's 30, and there is simply no reason that you would ever need to play the original over this. As the Dark Souls game goes, well, as the first in the series, it started something massive, and playing it properly for the first time ever, I feel completely at home after playing the third and some of the second game. It's full of difficult enemies, huge bosses, captivating environments, maze-like levels, creepy sounds, and obviously blood, sweat, and tears of us players dying over and over. I'm not really going to talk about the actual gameplay because we all know by now what Dark Souls gameplay is like. It's bloody well honed, extremely difficult but crazy rewarding, and it's full of depth and options for how you play. You can easily replay this multiple times with different skill paths to get a totally different experience. If you played any of the other games, you'll feel right at home here. Instead, let's have a look at the visual stuff, because that's what the remaster also tries to address. So the original game came out in 2011, 7 years ago, and at the time it wasn't graphically that fantastic, and so by now, yes, it's showing its age. The remaster looks to basically polish up the general look to things without really adding anything especially different. So there are new effects like mist, water and such, but you won't find like open areas of flat green grass texture now with 3D grass or anything as radical. It's a bit of a shame, as it's a big reason that the community has not been completely happy with this remaster. You would have expected a lot more to have been done in this area. I mean, it's small things like the unbelievably horrific face creation tool that has to be one of the worst ever lineup of faces created. There is a lack of quality anti-aliasing support with only FXAA and temporal anti-aliasing, and most bugs have been squashed, but some still exist, which again, like, how do you not ensure every bug isn't addressed from the original? Now, I'd let all this go, and I would just take the technical updates if it were for a good price, but unfortunately this is where the biting point hits in. This costs pretty much that of a new game, like 35 quid here in the UK. That's crazy. Even if you have the Prepare to Die edition, you can only get half off. So here is my recommendation. If you've ever played this game and are dying to play it, buy the remaster. If you absolutely love the original release and want to play it lots again in the future, buy the game. But if you aren't solidly in either of these camps, wait it out. The price will fall in a year or so, and it will be worth buying and playing it then. It won't harm you to wait another year after the 7 years since its original release, and you'll get a far better return on your money. I'd have said like 15 quid is a far more reasonable price for the content and changes made inside. I would advise though, just don't play the original version of the game because the technical issues will hurt your experience. I should also note, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the online part of the game, and I honestly have no interest in this part and have hardly dabbled with it in my time with the game, so if this is of big interest to you, then read up on that from other people with more experience on it before you buy. I've heard some bad things, so I don't want you to buy it and be disappointed. I'm going to give it a WAF score of 3. It actually plays well on an ultra-wide screen, and thankfully with native support, you won't be faffing around with mods the whole time. Anyway, I hope that gives you some information how the game runs at 21x9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For other games at 21x9, head over to my channel, the WAF website. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to support the channel, the links to my Patreon page are in the description, and Amazon affiliate links are there too. See you later. Oh.